आपने नितिन कामत के बारे में बात किया इन योर प्रीवियस आंसर्स। आपने बताया कि आप 2006 में उनको मिले थे जब वो रिलायंस सिक्योरिटीज़ के ब्रोकिंग कर रहे थे। तो हाउ इज़ लाइक द क्वेश्चन इज़ नितिन कामत से आपने ओवरऑल क्या सीखा है? व्हाट इज़ द मोस्ट मेमोरेबल इंटरैक्शन विद हिम? एंड सेकंडली हाउ डिड यू मीट हिम द फर्स्ट टाइम एंड कैसे पूरा जर्नी रहा?
So good question. I think I don't remember how I met him actually the first time. I think very interesting because he was really trying to do something radical at the time. He was in 2008 when the markets were all down and all that. He was starting a new brokerage. He's like 20 rupees per lot. बहुत ज़्यादा है 20 rupees per order चाहिए. Because if you have 5 lots of options or 10 lots of options, each lot is 50 size of Nifty. आप 20 रुपए चार्ज करोगे तो 40 पैसे आपको बनाने पड़ेंगे पर ऑप्शन जस्ट टू ब्रेक इवन विथ वन साइड ऑफ ब्रोकरेज. सो 80 पैसा फॉर टू साइड brokerage, right? So 80 paisa is a lot. If the option itself is 5 rupees, that means it has to go to 5 rupees 80 paisa to break even with the brokerage or things like that, which is a lot. And he said, listen, if you buy 10 lots at a time, then you have to only break even with 8 paisa. So 5 rupees should become 5 rupees 8. At 5 rupees 10 you are profitable. So he wanted that and no broker was giving him this, so he said, I'll go and start my own brokerage. Interestingly, he never took any equity in his business. It was always him and his brother, and he started the business entirely on his own. And I remember I think he pointed this out. There was a trader G का एक forum था जहाँ पे लोग आके discuss करते थे, and he had asked me that will you be part of an advisory board, not board but an advisory board, which he had put together a bunch of very good people. So I said, yeah, I was almost unemployed at the time. Like I was telling you, I was in the middle of this learning algorithmic trading and doing things, but I was writing a lot on Capitalmind. And somebody on Trader G once asked, what is the Zerodha? And somebody said, Deepak Shenoy is on their advisory board, so it must be legit. Which is very nice for them to say. And he also said that interesting that at that time, Deepak was providing credibility to Zerodha, and it's quite interesting because at that time the whole concept was radical. लोग नहीं समझ रहे थे कि this is the future, and I knew this for a fact that if you reduce brokerage like this, it will cause a lot of big traders to move to him, and the money in the brokerage business is the big traders eventually. Traders are not, I mean, if you look at anybody of any magnificent size, they are not sitting here saying broker मेरे को बोलेगा 50 lot निफ्टी का लेना है or or 1000 lot निफ्टी का. They are making their own decisions. For them the cost is a significant advantage. At best they'll use some other broker. कोई खबर है तो बताओ, मतलब कुछ insights है तो बताओ what is interesting. But otherwise, the for futures and options, the traders were making their own decisions. So over time, they would make their own. So Nithin actually started it. He got into a very interesting time, because this is a time when NSE was fighting with Jignesh Shah of FT. Because FT said they will start their own stock exchange. They had MCX. They wanted to start something called MCX SX, जिसमें stocks भी trade होंगे.
FT
is Financial Technologies, which is now called 63 Moons or something. Okay. So they were having this battle. NSE was like, आप हमारे brokers को software provide करते हो, लेकिन आप खुद अपना exchange बनाओगे. And so NSE went and partnered with this company called Omnisys, which is in was headquarters, not headquarters, but they make the software in a place called Udupi, which is close to where my hometown is, near Mangalore. So it's interesting because Omnisys got an investment from NSE, and their software started to get more popular among the brokers. I think at that time there were two choices. You could use Omnisys or you could use FT. Both of them had similar backend software. You could use some of the others. The Symphony and all came a little bit later, but there were a bunch of other software that you could use. And Zerodha started to slowly scale up. I think it was in 2014 or 2015 when he decided to make brokerage completely free. By the time I had moved back to Bangalore, I was in Gurgaon and all that. I had moved back to Bangalore. I started Capitalmind, and we were just doing research. And 2016 is when I think Zerodha really took off, because digital started becoming more and more interesting. People started getting interested in stocks, and demonetization happened. डीमोनेटाइजेशन के बाद लोगों के पास पैसे थे बैंक अकाउंट में, वो कहाँ गए? म्यूचुअल फंड में गए, डायरेक्ट स्टॉक्स में गए, ये वो। और इतना बड़ा रैली हुआ 2017 में कि लोग पीपल स्टार्ट, बिकॉज बाय दैट टाइम आई रिमेंबर आई रोट अ पोस्ट ऑन दिस आल्सो, Zerodha was that time a third or fourth largest broker in the country, out of the blue, in terms of number of clients and all that, because they started to make brokerage completely free for equity trades. I don't know if they started the mutual fund thing yet, but they were definitely doing stocks and F&O in a big way. They already had this software called Kite, which was starting to get popular. And by 2017, I think they were the rage. And by 2019 or 20, I think they were one of the largest brokers in the country. So they slowly kind of scaled up during that time. He maintained only one thing, that I don't want any venture investment or anything like that. I think he's done a fantastic job keeping the company private. And I was hoping that he'll list one day, so we'll be able to buy into this thing. But he has no. At least right now, he has no intentions. But the thing is, the company rose with an amazingly small team initially, and grew. Of course, they had a lot of people to handle it, but the core team has roughly been the same and been together so far. Amazing execution skills, and very reasoned. ये नहीं कि किसी भी चीज को ऐसे ही लगा दो. There's a lot of thought process behind it. They were the first to give auction markets. I think one of the first to give auction markets in their software, so you can go and buy auction stocks there. They have a stock lending thing, but right now it's person to person. But there is something. There are IPOs that happen directly. There are mutual funds. There are government bonds. They've added features one after the other. Very solid set of guys. And I think now they've invested in us, so you should consider everything I say biased, because they have invested in our company. But I think I really admire what they've done.
What's the most memorable interaction with Nithin Kamath?
That first one I remember very carefully, because that was very interesting. That because I had still in my mind about how he showed me all of that stuff. I think Nitin's. I've had many interactions. We had even a podcast with him in his office at the time, and I can't remember any one. More important thing than the one that I told you in the beginning when I met him the first time.
But 2 or 3 things that you've learned from him, or maybe you like a lot about him. कि वो traits तो मुझे भी चाहिए.
I think he's definitely very humble in terms of this thing. He doesn't go around like showing off things, and I find that very nice, because I think it's also like a little bit of a Bangalore thing. That is also quintessentially Bangalore, where you are humble because you like to be. It's the natural way you are. It's not like, he doesn't want good stuff. It's great. The first thing when I saw his car, I remember in 2006 also, when we had met, I said, I want a car like this. At some point I will have a good car. And so that was something that I know that, he likes, and he does it, but he's very straightforward. And second thing is, he's a very deep thinker. So you'll see this. He was not as public about his views before 2019 or so, I think. Before that, I don't think he wrote as much. Now his writings have become more, but all his writings are actually his thought processes. It's not like कोई और उसके लिए लिख रहा है, but he writes these things down the way he thinks. The good clarity of thought, and I love clarity of thought, because sometimes I write to clear my own head. So to a large extent, that's what we like. In fact, he gave me a nice. I wrote a book called Money Wise. Nithin had written a small note for me saying, whenever I don't understand anything that's happening in the market, I go and check what Deepak Shenoy has written, and it kind of helps me understand. So I like that, because I like the same thing. I like anyone who kind of deciphers complex stuff in a nice way. I think and he does talk about options markets, talks about a bunch of things and all that. And, that's one thing I really admire about him. Also, the fact that he's so fit. is so awesome. I mean, look, the kind of physical trouble that he's gone to in recent times. If anybody else had gone through it, I don't think they would have been able to come out. He's been able to work himself out, and amazing. He's brought him. I mean, it's so inspiring, right? And plus, I'm like the way I am. I need to fix myself. That's what inspires me. At some level, I should do something about it. I've been talking about it for the longest time, but yeah, it does. That's something that really inspires me about him. He runs such a big company, and yet he has all the time to fix himself. And what is my excuse?